YouTube? It's Super Psych back at it again with another video for you. And today it's a nice little gloomy day here in South Texas. So I thought it'd be the perfect time to give you the story of my torn Achilles tendon. The other reason why I think it's the perfect time is that I'm actually going to be getting surgery tomorrow to repair my torn Achilles tomorrow morning. So this is probably the best time to talk about what happened. So if you are new to the channel, please like, subscribe, and if you've torn your not ACL, if you've torn your Achilles before or had any similar injuries, comment down below. I'll comment back. I'm just curious to hear about your experiences. But I think that my experience is similar to many people who have torn their Achilles. So I'll kind of start at the beginning. So this was a Thursday, like any other Thursday. Me and a couple of my colleagues were planning on going to the gym and playing some basketball. So, you know, get a few runs in. So we get there. One of my friends is already on the court, so he's playing. So I'm just warming up, just shooting around, waiting for our entire team to be up on the list. So our team comes up on the list and it's our turn to play. So the game starts pretty well. To put some context to this, I hit the first shot, first points of the game. So I already know that my guy can't guard me. He has no chance whatsoever. Right before this happened, you know, I also realized that I wasn't fully warmed up with shooting because I came down the court and just put up a shot, and I thought it felt decent, and it was an air ball. It was on target, but it was an air ball. So the next time I come up the court, I'm coming up the court, I'm driving up, so I pull up to around 3-point line. One of my teammates tries to set a screen to the right. I wave him off. I'm like, no, I don't need a screen. Another guy comes up to the left, tries to take a screen. I'm like, I wave him off to the left, say no. And so at this point, I'm on the left side of the upper half of the key, and it's pretty much a wide open lane on the left side of the court. So I'm planning on taking it to the hoop. And, you know, if it stays open, I'm probably going to dunk on this guy. See me dripping, don't flip. Hey, see me flexing on your bitch. Don't forget about me. See I'm dripping on your... So I kind of see that opening, and I lower my head to start driving, try pushing towards the basket. And after that first push, I hear a loud pop, and I feel a large pop at the same time. And it's weird because this pop wasn't painful at this point in time. Well, I thought somebody hit me from behind. I thought like a pop cannon had gone off and hit me from behind. Or, you know, those big bouncy balls that you played crab soccer with? I think I'm dating myself right there. But those big bouncy balls, I thought that maybe somebody had just thrown one of those and hit me with it and it exploded on my back. Like it was so weird because my body just kind of flew forward. But the weird part was that I could feel that my foot was still stuck on the ground. Like I felt like, it's hard to describe, but I was pushing off, my foot was at an angle, and as I pushed off, instead of my feet going this direction because I was pushing off, my heel went this way as the rest of my body went forward. And so I could feel that happening, but at that point in time, I didn't realize that my ankle, something was wrong with it. I knew something had popped, and I thought it was something that hit me from behind, like somebody had thrown a basketball and it popped, or that big bouncy ball. But at that point, I looked back. I was on the ground, and I was like, and I looked back to see what it was that might have hit me. And there was nothing there. There was no one there. There was no ball shards, or there's nothing bouncing away from me. And I was like, what was that? And so then I look back at my ankle and I see my ankle at a weird angle. So you know how your ankle sits when it's not flexed. It sits kind of almost just about below a 90-degree angle a little bit. My foot had a much greater than that 90-degree angle. It's more of an obtuse angle at my ankle. And I also could feel that I could not move my ankle. And so at that point, I'm like, okay, something is torn in my ankle. I knew that for a fact. And if you ever been in so much pain that you were trying to kind of run away from the pain.
Stop! Oh, 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 ow, ow, ow.
Well, I couldn't run at this point, but I was on the ground. I was kind of crawling. I was doing like a low crawl, like trying to crawl off the court. I'm not exactly sure why, but I was. And at that point, a lot of the guys who were playing were around me, and they were like telling me to stop moving, don't move. And I was like, yeah, well, I need to get away from this pain, because at that point, the pain had set in. It was this weird, searing, seething, chemical burn that I was experiencing in my ankle. And it wasn't the worst pain I've ever felt in my life, but it was a really strange pain, because I was also still kind of confused. I don't think I was in shock, but I was really confused as to what was going on. I was kind of still disoriented about the way, like, I thought I got hit in the back of the head or something, and I wasn't concussed. I didn't hit my head on the ground, but I was still kind of confused. And it took me a couple minutes before I calmed down. So I started to breathe, slow down, and begin to realize what had happened to me. And so after a couple minutes to calm me down, they call EMS, and they asked me a couple of questions. So the EMS is on its way, and a couple of the guys helped me up and take me over to a bench, and I'm sitting there. And while I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, now let's start figuring out what's going on with my ankle, because it's not just, I know something's torn. I was thinking maybe it's a torn muscle. Sorry, I can't use what I normally use to film because I have this stupid cast on and there's no space because I have to keep my leg up. But I knew that something was wrong. So I started feeling around my ankle, and what I noticed at that point in time is that I did not feel my Achilles tendon. And so to check, I felt on the other foot. I felt where the Achilles tendon was, or what it typically feels like. I went back to the other one, and there's this nice little soft indentation, kind of really nothing there actually, where the Achilles tendon was on the other foot and what I normally feel on the back of my right foot. And so at that point I was like, okay, there's something really wrong with my Achilles tendon. And at that point there were still a few guys around me, and one of the guys just comments, says, you probably just sprained it. And if you've ever been really in pain, it's really easy to get angry, and I was really livid at that point in time. But I was also broken, so I wasn't about to do anything, but wasn't about to say anything, because I couldn't fight, because I couldn't even walk at that point, because I knew that I could not bear weight on my ankle at that point in time. And so at that point, I called my wife, let her know what was going on, and the EMTs come and they pick me up, put me in the little stretcher, and they start asking me some questions about myself. The first guy evaluates my ankle, and it's kind of interesting because he feels it, and I think what he felt was my muscle. I got some hard muscles. I think he thought that my muscle was my Achilles tendon, because he decided to his plan was to take me to one of the lower level urgent care centers. And I was like, okay, whatever. So we get into the back of the ambulance, so they kind of ferry me in, and at that point, I'm feeling okay. The pain sucks, but it's not the worst thing ever. And they switch positions. So the guy who initially checked out my leg, he was actually going to drive. And I think it was for the best. I think it was meant to be, because the other guy, he does a reevaluation of my ankle while we're en route to the urgent care center. And he says, wait, no, his Achilles tendon is gone, because he checked it against my other ankle. The other guy did not check it against the other ankle. So he checks it against my other ankle, and he says, yeah, no, we need to go to the ER. We need to go to the full ER because his Achilles tendon isn't there. And so I was like, okay, that's more in line with what I saw. So I'm not a physician, but I know my body well enough to know when things are in place and when things are working right and when they're not working right and when they're there and when they're not there. And it's pretty easy to feel when my Achilles tendon was not there. I could feel it with my hand. It was like a nice little soft indentation where my Achilles tendon should have been. So we take a nice little half-hour ride up to the emergency room, and that's where the long night begins. So we were there for about 7 hours, and that was actually, it wasn't that bad. They gave me, I think part of what helped is that on the way up they gave me fentanyl for the pain.
I bring you love.
Which helped quite a bit. So I guess I didn't care as much about it. Acted really quickly, but it actually felt like it worked through my system also pretty quickly. My body metabolizes those types of things really quickly whenever I have to have surgery or anything like that. Not that I have surgery a lot, but I also have had shoulder surgery. So I tore my shoulder up when I was playing football in college, and tore my rotator cuff and had to have surgery for that. So we're there for about 7 hours, doing an ultrasound, doing x-rays, getting evaluated by like 500 providers. And that was it. So at that point, I was pretty sure it was torn. I was just kind of waiting really to see if the issue is whether I had any breakage in my ankle as well. Because apparently one common thing that happens is when the tendon tears off, it breaks off bone with it, and that breakage can actually cause other types of problems, and so that requires different intervention. But luckily, there is always a silver lining. There was no breakage. I didn't break a bone along with the Achilles tendon tear. So that was that. 7 hours, some pain meds later. And here I am. So the doctors told me there's 2 standard procedures that you typically go through for this. So there's a non-operative process and there's an operative process. So really, it seems like from what they're saying, the literature suggests that there's not a huge difference between the outcomes between the non-operative process and the operative process. People who go through operation tend to get back to work a little bit faster. In some research studies, there is a lower rate of re-rupturing among people who have undergone the operative process, but that's about a 4%, in that study at least, was a 4% likelihood of re-rupture versus a 12% with the non-operative process. And it's not a statistically significant, but some suggest that it might be clinically significant. But when they were talking to me about surgery, they mentioned that if there was an issue that caused a significant enough expanse or distance between the 2 existing portions of the tendon, that they might have to use cadaver tissue to connect it. And so that's the part that made me think, okay, so how is it that you wouldn't know about whether or not you need to use cadaver tissue to properly fix my ankle unless you went inside, but then you're telling me that non-operative process could be just as functional and just as good? That confused me quite a bit, which is part of the reason why I'm leaning towards the operative procedure, because that confuses me and I don't understand how that works. And luckily they're able to get me in really quickly, and because they're able to get me in really quickly, that means that it really won't put off the amount of time till I start rehab that much longer. It's just gonna be 3, maybe 4 days difference between when if I did not have surgery and I did have surgery. Yes, there are increased risks because of the risk of infection, but I think that's a risk that I'm willing to take. So there it is. That's my torn Achilles tendon story. If you made it this far, thank you for watching, thank you for listening, thank you for being with me in this journey as I work back towards health, and I will continue to share with you guys my journey back to health. Thank you so much, and hopefully we can make your tomorrow better than today. TSB out.